forgive me, I almost feel like crying, that Fatima's dream was not only rethinking about what it's all about, but also to bring Afro-Asian women in some kind of solidarity. She wasn't satisfied with just being a leader within the African continent or even an intellectual leader on all the issues of the world. But she wanted Afro-Asian solidarity. That was a kind of a bee in her bonnet. And that's where some of us enabled her by going to Rabat with many Asians and many Africans and many others. But it was to exclude what we always felt was a burden on us, which was the intellectual domination of the North. I don't want to use racist language like white and black, but it was something within us that we felt that the intellectual sky of the North, of Europe, America, etc., had in some sense disturbed us in terms of what we are ourselves. So if you read her works, you see how she claims, and she claims Islam to be progressive. And you know, Islam is being trashed as a fundamentalist and very backward. But she creates, by looking both at the Quran, but also at Sufi writers. So she quotes like mad. If you see any of her papers, it's full of quotations. And so actually, I'm a bit disappointed because we thought all of us have brought slides which are so picturesque, because Fatima's conversation was always with pictures, with calligraphy. She couldn't write a paper without those pictures. If you see the paper she prepared for the Casablanca dream, it's a dream in itself. The first page has a carpet. The second page, and I wish, as I said, we can't show it to you. The second page says, what is the American dollar doing in Rikia's high at last carpet? So there's a carpet, and she asks some person whom she thinks is an idiot or is uninformed, is asking, what is the American dollar? So it says, it's not an American dollar, stupid. It is the snake in Ria's carpet. So it's a kind of shifting of imagery. The second one she does, which is equally brilliant, Allah made the earth a carpet for you so you can travel. So this preoccupation with carpets is what drew me to her, because actually I was looking at globalization and its negative impact. And she told me, Devki, I'm looking at carpet weavers of the, what hills are they? Atlas. And she said their work, their income is getting eroded because carpets are being manufactured by machines now. And you know, Moroccan carpets were very famous, and many women were engaged in that. So they were losing jobs. Now that's a phenomena all over the world now, especially in the developing countries. What we did with our hands, and yesterday we heard such moving stories about handmade things, which was a basic income for the majority of women, was getting lost because of mechanization. So she said we must discuss how to control that. Of course, it's very difficult. But we said, okay, let's discuss it. So it started with economics, that is globalization and its impact on the livelihood of the majority of women. And the Atlas carpet women were brilliant. They wove stories into the carpets, and they also wove knowledge into the carpets. So that was how we started, and I'm so glad Nadia is here, because Nadia will remember the amount of carpet that she redesigned and she brought. And finally, to Fatima's credit, it must be said, she put them on the web, and she helped the carpet weavers of Atlas to sell it on the internet to rich Americans and others. And so she managed to get them back into what is called modern marketing. The third slide I couldn't show you. Could it be that Islam scares the West because it brings back the dreamy night? Again, you see the imagery that in the West and in most countries, the sun and the daylight and night is a fearsome thing. She's arguing that night is a wonderful thing. The night is when you dream. Night is when your mind is really at rest and thinks. So you see again the complete inversion of what is called given knowledge that we seem to get from Western civilization, and to claim it that Islam and African and Asian civilization and the Sufis and how they traveled. And she used to talk about Sinbad as somebody who was seeking friendship across the world, and that's why he traveled all over the world. But when you, as a child, I read Sinbad the Sailor in a convent school, it was very different. The Sinbad sailor was some kind of Arab chap who sailed, but she brought Sinbad into another kind of frame. So this brilliance I don't think any of us have. And what I was telling Zenele when we both lost her, and I said, look here, she had a way of converting the given knowledge into something that we can claim from our own cultures. So we really want the students and all of us in Africa to see her as somebody not in a book, but we can imitate her by claiming our knowledge and using our knowledge for our own advancement. I want to also bring you up to date about Fatima, because that is where really we need to work. When I was in Oxford last year, I rang her as I usually do, and she said, I have a new book, and you must have a discussion in Casablanca on the book. So of course I'm very old now and I can't organize anything. So I said, sorry, I can't organize anything. Then she sent me the book. You won't believe what the book is about. The book is about why young Arab young men are becoming violent. The very core of what we are all facing today with the kind of ISIS and what it does all over the world, and the sense of restlessness in the Arab and the Muslim world. So she says one morning the phone rang, one of her friends, and this man tells her that a 26-year-old Ahmed Bihuni had been arrested by police in the night of Saturday because of his haircut. So the police shaved him. The moment the police shaved this young man, he went and committed suicide. And she says she understands now the police are obsessed with haircuts. They roam the streets to punish the young because these young men are using online photos to show themselves in different ways. Now, how the young men got into that, she says, is because of the multimedia. She says there are 560 channels in that area, and those TV channels are showing various types of consumerism, various types of styles. And on the other hand, there is Islam, messages of Islam. And she says in that contradiction, the young men are lost, and in the meantime, the government finds them odd. So the idea of communication across difference, learning from each other, building peace with knowledge was part of Fatima's activism, a deep insight with extraordinary scholarship. Every paper of hers has references to not only the Arab scholarship, but to Western scholarship. Every paper, you know, the latest book is there at the bottom of her papers, because she takes that, teases it, and throws it out. And this book which she's written was not only her last. She said, Devaki, I'm ready to write another book. Guess what the title is? Chama's Dream, Flying Without a Visa. She was visualizing a world of such peace that there would be a day when this young man could fly across the world without a visa. I mean, where will you find somebody who had such intellectual power and yet was helping us to see a world which we could create? So then she comes to another point. She says her friend Kamal, and I was asking Nadia whether we couldn't contact him. He told her that the English-speaking people have invented a new word called selfie, based on self, meaning photo of self, which French-speaking Canadians prefer to call ego portrait. Because they are self-portrait photographs, typically taken at arm's length, mostly with a smart tablet or phone, usually be shared with social networks. Kamal, that is her friend, repeated how perturbed he was by, of course, the suicide of this youth. But he says this is partly because the selfie, which has become such a popular thing among the younger generation, has started a new narcissistic wave. You know what a narcissistic wave, that you're looking only at yourself. And he thinks that this narcissistic wave is what has created the teenagers such confusion. Is addiction to self-portraits posted on social networks a reflection of an exhibitionist society? From teenagers to Pope Francis, everyone gives in. Inquiry into a new epidemic, narcissism. But in that book that she's writing, you would think she's only talking about Arab scholars and all that. No, she brings Thomas Piketty, the latest economist who has written a book called Capital in the 21st Century, and says Thomas Piketty also thinks that unequal wealth causes confusion, and this kind of north-south television booming consumerism is causing that. So I want to ask you, if any of us here who know so many hundreds of other people have ever thought of looking at the selfie through Fatima's eyes? I've never thought of it. It was Fatima to put it in my head that the selfie is narcissism, that it can lead to narcissism. So again, that's what I mean by Fatima's brilliance in generating new ideas which we can take forward. So as I must come back to my own personal thing, so she said, come on your way back to India and let us have a next meeting, which I could not do. I first met Fatima in 1983 at the Harvard University, where two professors had called a meeting. It was called Interreligious Dialogue Amongst Women. So there were many, including Birgalia Baum, she was there as a Christian. I was not a Hindu, but I was called from India, and Fatima was called as an Arab. So in the evenings, we sat in the same room and chatted. Fatima, as you know, was a very lively, frisky, and very beautiful young woman, as I think people like Achola would know her better than I do. So she said, I can do belly dancing. So we said, lovely, you do belly dancing. And she brought a video, and she played it, and she danced to it in our little conference room. So then I love dancing, so I tried to imitate her. But you know, it's very difficult. You shake your belly without shaking any rest of your body. So it was, but I'm bringing the belly dancing to show you what a multiple skills she had. I mean, she could be totally Moroccan with all her clothes and her beads and her dancing. And then she could be this sharp intellectual and this idealist who really wanted to rebuild the world. So Fatima was like that. So I'm grateful to Zenele and all of that, including Pat, Shireen, to call us at this small meeting. I must confess, as you can see in my wavering voice, that I'm heartbroken. And so what we were thinking, Zenele and I hope young people here will carry it forward, is somehow to bring her as an icon into the African continent. You know, many of the feminist icons, and Pat will correct me because Pat is creating feminism in Africa, and many other feminists in Africa are recreating it, Yassine and others. In Asia and other places we are trying, but by and large, feminism is still drawn from Western literature and Western initiation of the word feminism. But I thought if we could remember Fatima as somebody who was searching for definitions which suit and come out of our culture, it may be a great help to all of us. So the idea is really to bring her back, and actually we wanted to do this when she was alive. She wanted it to be done when she was alive. She wanted us to bring back the knowledge that we have into analysis and forward-looking ideas right now. But when she went, it was a real shock. So we thought, let us try to remember her, but more important, not a memorial, but somehow take those ideas into our lives. And really we have to do much more philosophical and ideational skills. I often feel that the women's movement has become obsessed with activism because we think we want change. We want change. If you're not an activist, then you're not a leader of women. But I think Fatima showed that intellectual argumentation and conceptualization is actually the basis on which you create freedom. Because freedom comes when you're emancipated from what you've been trained to do. And we were trained to think with concepts and theories, and even now the best books on economics comes from the West. We have to write our own. We have to write about inequality as feminists. We have to write about growth as feminists. That is, feminists from Afro-Asian countries. I have not included Latin America, but maybe some of you can do that. So we are now celebrating Fatima, and I can't get over the fact that between June 2015 and November 2015, Zenele and I had wanted to do it while she was alive. Then Zenele said, I'll do it when the WDB comes because we need money. Then Zenele herself got unwell And by the time we could bring this together, this woman had left us. So I hope all of you will carry forward Fatima. Do we show the book now or later? Later. Later? Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.